Spiritual Monday with ElectraSoul. What's up, my biscuits? Just kidding. I love y'all, my angels. Hey guys. All right then. So within this video today, what I want to talk with y'all about, which I think is like, it's not important, like super important, because a lot of people don't even think about these things, I feel, but I know that there's a big, large amount of people who do, including myself, because it's definitely a very interesting topic. It is about astrology. As y'all know, I love astrology a lot. I want to let y'all know that when it comes to SYNASTRY, which if you guys don't know what SYNASTRY is, I'll explain it first before I get into it. SYNASTRY is basically the charts that are combined between you and a partner or a person. It does not have to be a romantic partner, and honestly, like, of course, SYNASTRY works with anyone. Okay, so you can search up the SYNASTRY of you and your mom, of you and your pet, if you know the pet's birth time, birthplace, all that stuff. You need their information, of course. In other cases, if you want to look up a partner's SYNASTRY with yourself, you would put in both of your birth information online, and it would just come up with this chart that tells you about the SYNASTRY that y'all share. So it tells you about how y'all affect each other through your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, literally every planet that you have, plus any asteroids that you want to put in. If you want to check your north node, your Lilith, if you want to check your midheaven, ascendant, anything with that person, it's going to show you an overlay. So I'm definitely gonna have a picture right here. You're gonna see the overlay. So from the outside, you're going to see how there's planets being put into the inside circles, houses, basically. So what you're going to see right here is that the planets, like the little symbols and all that stuff, it's going to be put into someone's house, which would be the other person's house. So for example, let's say like Venus is touching someone's 12th house. That right there would mean that they have some sort of 12th house SYNASTRY. And let's say that the inner circle person has their Mars going into the other person's 3rd house. Okay, and you can see it because within the wheel you can see where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the 12 houses, and you would know the symbols because those would just be the symbols of each planet. Okay, so for the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, all that stuff, like everything else that you want to put into it, you're going to see it appear through your SYNASTRY chart, and you can access this online. I don't know, I know that there are other ways to do it in person, but I've never done that before. It's always been online for me as I started researching astrology when I was 12 years old. So it's been a while, but it's always been on the internet for myself. And so with that being said, this is just going to be like a little reminder for you guys, because I feel like it is important to say. I want y'all to understand that just because a certain SYNASTRY aspect looks like it's super harmonious, or just because you have this with somebody, like let's say that with someone you have some sort of hard aspect and it looks like it's going to be really tough with this person, whatever, it could be anything. I want y'all to understand that these things, they help determine things such as how things could play out between you guys, energetically speaking, with your behaviors, but it does not decipher how the connection is going to go. It does not say that this person is like, that's it basically, or that they're not it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying this more in the way with the intention, you know, I made this video with the intention of trying to tell you guys that just because a SYNASTRY chart does not look like it is super complementary to you and maybe your soulmate, or you and your partner, or whoever else, and let's say that you all are perfect, it does not go to say that you guys are gonna fall apart. It does not go to say that you guys are not meant for each other. It just doesn't go to say the things that you figure out with time through you being with this person. I will say for sure though that in my experience with everyone that I've done a SYNASTRY reading with, for myself, with other people, is that I have seen similar themes that play out within the SYNASTRY chart just play out in person. Okay, so let's say for example I would have like 8th house SYNASTRY with someone. There could be like a little bit of obsessiveness, you know, obsession a little bit, but it's not anything where I'm being stalked or oh my god, it's like Fatal Attraction, you know, the movie. It's never that big of a deal, I feel. And I do definitely feel like this has a lot to do with the way that people are. Obviously it definitely does depend on the kind of person that you are, your age, your maturity levels, all that, because like I stated, I've seen SYNASTRY charts for myself where it looked like it was going to play out a certain way with someone that I knew, but at the end of the day it would play out a different way. Whereas for example, maybe in that SYNASTRY chart there were certain aspects that were pointing towards either kind of thing happening, and then one thing did happen where maybe I was expecting the other thing to happen. Okay, and again, please do remember that even with astrology, everything is very informational, is very realistic. I do rely on astrology a lot because it is very realistic, like for real. It's extremely telling. I feel like I would be ignorant for me to say that it's fake, because it's definitely not fake, guys. It's super real. Astrology is very real. But I just want y'all to know and to understand for yourselves that just because it looks like a certain way with you and your partner, like I stated, or you and a best friend or anything else, it does not go to say that that's the end, or that that y'all are screwed or y'all are destined to fail or whatever, because I just don't believe in that, nor do I feel like that's realistic to assume. I feel like if you do a synastry chart reading with someone and it looks like it's not going to work out, don't just leave them behind because it looks that way. You know, like I've had, again, synastry chart readings with people where it looked like that too, and then things would work out, or vice versa, you know, where I thought, oh, best friends or this, that, or whatever, and it just wasn't like that. Things like that would happen. And it's not to say that astrology is not real, because it definitely is, but it is to say that there are just certain ways that different things play out. So I'll give y'all like a quick example. Honestly, I'm gonna give y'all like a little one. Let me think of one. Okay, so a fifth house synastry. Fifth house, it rules creativity, it rules children, it rules having fun with animals, like all that, sports, being very active, passion, great. The thing with fifth house synastry is that synastry is known for being like flirtatious. Usually if you have fifth house synastry with someone, it's very fun, very outgoing. There's always flirting with that one. Okay, so let's say as an example, within this example, that you have fifth house synastry with someone and you expect it to be just full of jokes and games. Oh, we're gonna be so flirtatious, we're gonna have so much fun tickling each other, ha ha ha, whatever. Okay, so as time goes on by, it doesn't appear for it to be that way, but it does appear that this person is actually being very childish with you. They're actually being very maybe non-communicative because they feel like they don't have to be, because you just get it, because they're so used to you picking up on their mood swings in that sense, where, oh no, they get it, like whatever, they understand what I'm talking about, they understand how I'm feeling. I don't really have to explain myself to them because they know who I am, and besides, we've joked a lot before, so they'll get my drift. You know, it's like a lack of communication in that sense. The whole thing, and this is not to say that fifth house synastry would ever like predict that, you know, it could, but what I am saying here is that just because it tells you one thing where, you know, you guys are gonna be so flirtatious or whatever, and the other thing plays out, it does not say that, you know, you failed at reading some synastry chart or that you were wrong or whatever. You know, it could literally mean anything in between, where certain aspects of that planet or of the synastry that y'all have do play out differently. Maybe it looks like fifth house synastry is gonna make this really flirtatious, but then there's also other aspects in the chart that kind of work against that. Not against it though, it's not the right word. It's more of, it just makes a bit of a difference, right? Please do understand that that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world or anything like that. You know, everything's still coming together for you, and especially if you're manifesting the best with whoever, it's gonna be great. Because I know for myself, I have like all different kinds of synastry with all different kinds of people, and things still play out exactly how they're supposed to for the both of us. You know, usually I get a sense of their energy, I get a feel of it. I usually tend to look at people's birth charts to understand a little bit better about their personalities, and then I will work with that. But at the end of the day, with the synastry aspect, it really is an enormous aspect in which you are paying attention to your maturity levels. You have to both be mature people, because the less mature that y'all are, it honestly is very possible that a certain kind of synastry will play out in the opposite way as it's supposed to, but that's not like the right word either. I think what I'm trying more to say is that it's not going to be opposite of it. You know, it's not going to be leading you on, or where it's not accurate. That's not it. I mean that there's two sides to every kind of synastry, because there really is. There's two sides to everything. And what could happen here is that you guys could be feeding more of the side that's less mature. Honestly, that's like the only, no, underdeveloped, yes, less developed than if you were focusing on the more developed side of things. So I'm gonna tell y'all right now, like a little thing that I feel for myself with synastry is that I actually love 12th house synastry. People hate it. People hate it upside down, left and right. They absolutely despise it. If y'all look it up, you're gonna see how many people hate 12th house synastry actually. And I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite synastries. I really think that it probably is, no, it definitely is one of my favorites. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's like up there as F, okay? I'm a 12th house stellium, so being a 12th house stellium honestly makes that a lot easier for me, because I've always been in that energy, because 12th house synastry is known to be very cloudy, very delusioned. I don't know what the truth is. It's so wishy-washy. I'm so scared. I don't know the answer. I can feel everything you're feeling, but you're not telling me anything. That kind of thing. Or even having a lot of dreams about a certain person, thinking about them all the time, worrying about them, loving them so much, but not being able to say it, whatever. Okay, I understand that, and I have seen that play out. Maybe not even in my own life, but I've seen it play out in other people's lives. And I have seen that play out a bit in my own life, but only when there were underdeveloped aspects coming from either party. So in this case that I'm referring to, I was not the underdeveloped one, it was actually the other person. So because of their behavior, it more so appeared that things were kind of cloudy, things were kind of delusional in that sense. But I also learned to understand that that was not something that I was putting out into the surface. It was just that person and the way that they were believing things about themselves, about their realities, how they were behaving with me, you know, that would make the synastry appear differently than it actually was. But again, it's not that it appears differently than it actually was. It's more that my expectations were not met because I assumed that we would both be developed enough for things to work out, you know. And of course, again, guys, remember, like, we're still law of assumptioners, so we can always assume that things will just be developed, and they will be. But this is just me telling y'all from me going with the flow of things, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just telling y'all what I've seen play out, and that's honestly like what I've seen happen. You know, it could be two ways. So yes, you know, 12th house synastry, people don't like it for that reason. It seems like a lot of not understanding things. They say that it is a very karmic synastry. I feel like that is true to an extent, but personally, the people in my life that I've had the strongest connections to, they all had 12th house synastry with me. We all always had like hella 12th house synastry. And what a lot of synastry looks like is like when you have multiple planets in that person's house and vice versa. It could be either way. So yeah, you know, in that sense where, you know, it seems like, oh, it's so delusional and I can't understand anything, it's so cloudy. The other way, where if y'all are both mature and developed people who have 12th house synastry with one another, is that you would see things play out differently in the sense that maybe here, no, it's not very cloudy. We both just psychically pick up a lot of stuff about each other. We have a lot of dreams about each other. We talk about the way that we deeply feel for each other and we can handle it, okay? It doesn't have to be some sort of quiet, oh my God, should I tell her how I feel? No, say how you feel. You know, have like confidence in yourself and learn to be very developed with what you have in your synastry chart with somebody, but understand that the more developed that you perceive these things, the better it is for both of y'all, okay? So with 8th house synastry, for example, another example, that's another really deep one. You know, a lot of people don't like that one either because it's very obsessive. It can be very like possessive too. Very, you know, 8th house, Scorpio. Think of a Scorpio. Well, not like all of them, of course. Well, like in the sense that, you know, an underdeveloped Scorpio would be a little bit more, again, like possessive. You know, they could be very obsessive. They don't feel secure in relationships and they feel very much inclined to have a hand on your shoulder always. The thing with this, with 8th house synastry, is that again, it could be both ways. It could be complete obsession over each other. It feels like you guys are going crazy because you can't stop thinking about that person, and it could be also very sex based, all that stuff, where, you know, that's an underdeveloped aspect as opposed to being more developed, where on the more developed side of 8th house synastry, you guys would be healthily obsessed with each other. You guys are easily able to communicate your wants and needs without feeling like you have to have some sort of grip around their ankle. It's basically a lot about having healthy boundaries and being very respectful with the way that you see things, very communicative, very open, very honest about all of it, okay? And that is just the way it is with synastry, honestly, from my own opinion. I don't believe that any synastry is bad. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I really don't, because I've seen different things play out in my reality, and I know for a fact that, again, like everything else in my life, I've been shown a whole bunch of different crazy things in my own life where maybe I had the worst synastry with somebody, but I wouldn't see it ever play out that way, because I always knew that as long as we were both developed people, where we felt confident in ourselves, where we wanted the best for each other and within the connection, it would actually play out that way. And, you know, I do love 12th house synastry a lot. I don't mind 8th house synastry too much, but from my personal opinion, from my experiences in the past with 8th house synastry, is that usually the other person would be very underdeveloped, so it just wouldn't work out because they just took it to like a whole other level. But in other cases where 12th house synastry I had, the people that I had the connection with, usually, always, they were very, very on my level, like very much developed with their energies with that. So it made it a lot more enjoyable for the both of us to have like this amazing connection, very deep connection, because that's also what 12th house synastry is. It's a very, very, very deep connection. But yeah, you know, the same thing goes for anything else with first house synastry. That makes it, basically, you're like someone's world. If you have first house synastry with someone, you are all that they see. They think that you're the most beautiful person out there. You're very strong. You might even intimidate them, things like that. From a more growing perspective, where you are more developed and you feel like, okay, yeah, this person is someone I definitely look up to. That's a great synastry to have. But if you're underdeveloped people, first house synastry could look a lot like jealousy. It could look like, wow, you think you're all that, don't you? I'm living my best life. Why do you think I'm trying to show off to you? You know what I'm saying? It could very much be where people, what is the word? They like assume the worst, kind of. They just assume things things that aren't even true about you, or they think that you're showing off or that you're doing things to be some sort of way or whatever, okay? Or they can even judge your looks very heavily, all right? So there's like a whole lot of different things that play into this. I just want y'all to understand and to remember that there's nothing to be afraid of when you are doing synastry readings for yourself or for anyone else. It doesn't have to say that it's gonna play out anyway, you know? Everything is subjective, definitely. It just is about how mature you are, how you're willing to see things, obviously your mindset, just everything about you. It makes an enormous difference, okay? It just really does. Even this year for myself, I have my Pluto in the 11th house, and what that means, and this is not synastry, this is just astrology, but this is a good example of the developed and undeveloped thing, is that because I have my Pluto in the 11th house, it's to say that I will have enormous transformation with friends, okay? So honestly speaking, I don't have like any friends, especially right now, which I'm happy. Like, I'm very happy. I love not having really any friends like that because I just never really did in my entire life. I've always been very cool with people. You know, I know a lot of people. I'm very cool with them, and you know, usually I'm always there to help them because that's just how it is. But at the end of the day, with that aspect right there where you have your Pluto in the 11th house, for especially for a solar return chart, because that's what it is for me. It's not in my natal, it's my solar return chart. So what that means is that this is for the year until my next birthday. Then I will get like a whole new chart that will tell me how my year will play out. But with this 11th house Pluto thing is that it looks like I could have people in my life that I wouldn't want in my life anymore. You know, I may feel betrayed by friends or things like that. And I literally set an intention when I found that out to refuse that from happening to me, where I don't sit here and say, oh my God, I'm so scared. Who's gonna screw me over? I don't think so. Like, I don't live like that, babe. I do not live like that because I know that I deserve better than that. So the way that I see it is, no, I'm gonna have enormous transformation with my life, you know, obviously with the people that are around me, but it's not gonna be a huge deal to the extent of me having to go through some sort of painful transformation. No, the only transformation I'm gonna be going through with friends is the fact that I know that I deserve the best, and then I'm just gonna get that. That's it. You know, so I'm gonna make it really easy for myself. I'm not gonna make it into a huge deal. It doesn't have to be anything other than the best for myself. I just have to remember that everything is coming together for me one way or another, and that goes no less than you with your synastry with whoever. Okay, guys? So please remember everything that I'm stating within this video. I feel like this is honestly a rather more important video to make, because anytime that I read about synastry, people tend to be really freaked out by a certain aspect that they have or whatever. But I feel like real astrologers understand that it is definitely subjective. It does depend on your personality. It depends on the other aspects that you have. It depends on your maturity level, very heavily underlined maturity level, because synastry does make things act up. It just depends on how mature you guys are willing to be to make things work. And every time that you choose maturity, it does really work out in your highest favors, okay? Again, with people that I've had crazy synastry with where it's not destined to work out, I knew it was gonna be fine, because why wouldn't it be fine? And it always was. It literally always worked out. You know, I could let it be really painful. I could really let that happen, but my ego is not big enough to make me feel that way. You feel me? Like, my soul overpowers everything, so I know that I'm making decisions that will make me feel like I can do it. You know, I feel like I'm better than that, basically, and I feel like because I know that I'm better than that, I am, and it does play out that way because I accept no less. I accept no less than best, and just like that, neither will y'all. Of course, you guys will only accept the best, and anytime that you're gonna do synastry readings on yourself and anyone else, if you ever go that deeply into astrology to find it all out, there's a lot of beautiful things you can discover, and it is always honestly very fun. Please do not be afraid if you have some sort of crazy synastry with someone like 8th or 12th house. Do not be afraid, please. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that scary. I promise you, it's really not. It's honestly just very transformational, and it's very cool. It's very telling of the way that things will go, but in favor of the growth that y'all have, okay? So the stronger the better, obviously. Be very secure in yourself, and everything will always work out because it's supposed to. All right then, my love. May God bless y'all always. Please take care, everyone. I truly intend from the bottom of my heart that this video today helped y'all out to the most of its ability, because it was a lot of fun for me to make, and I truly intend that every message that I've said has been delivered efficiently. That's really what I intend, because I know that I don't feel like I ever speak in a way that's unclear. I never feel that way, actually, but I do understand where some people can't, because I know that there's like a whole bunch of different people watching these kinds of things. There are some people who might take things differently than how they're being spoken, but I don't think that really ever happens with me, honestly. Like, as I feel like after I got my priorities straight on how strongly I am supposed to speak and how confident I should be in what I speak about, everything is very much communicated effectively. So as long as it is, and as long as y'all understand, that's great. And if not, then of course we can always touch base on this later. It's never the end of the world. It's always continuing. We always got this. Very excited to hear what y'all have to say, but may God bless y'all always. Please continue manifesting and assuming in the best favor of the synastry that you have in your lives, and just know that it is always only up from here, always. All right then, my love, may God bless y'all always. Please take care, everyone. Continue doing what you're doing. You guys are the best, and of course with your synastry, it's going to be nothing other than amazing, and it definitely always is. God bless you guys again. Love y'all very much. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for everything. Bye.